This past weekend, the world lost the greatest game show host ever, our beloved Alex Trebek, who fought hard in his battle with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Last week, I had the great pleasure of sitting down with Ken Jennings, known for his epic winning streak on Jeopardy. We talk about the beloved host, and you'll hear what he had to say about that. But after hearing of the news, this is what Jennings had to say about our beloved Alex Trebek. Alex wasn't just the best ever at what he did. He was also a lovely and deeply decent man, and I'm grateful for every minute I got to spend with him. Joining me to talk about Alex for a few minutes and Jeopardy, and Ken Jennings as well, my dear friend Ida.
Hey, Wendy.
So isn't it, what a coincidence, just a couple weeks ago I said to you, I'm going to have somebody from Jeopardy on, and what did you say?
Well, immediately, of course, I know it's Ken Jennings, and I was so excited because it's part of history. And as someone who watched Jeopardy my whole life, I mean, you've had some really stellar guests on the What's Up with Wendy podcast, some real A-list celebrities. But Ken Jennings is really, in my opinion, a fantastic guest. He's an icon. He's a part of pop culture. And he and Alex Trebek have that connection forever. And that's something that they're always going to be connected by, that incredible winning streak by Ken. And it was just so amazing that you were able to interview him. And it just made me think about the role Jeopardy played in my life, my whole life, because it debuted, I think, in 1983 or 1984 when I was just about in high school. I didn't watch too much, but then in college, there was years that my roommates and housemates and I would just get together every night to watch Jeopardy and just hang out, have dinner. And it was just like a part of my life. And then after that, with my husband and my family, I watch it now with my daughters. It's just an amazing thing that's obviously perfect for everyone. It's, as they say, fun for the whole family. It's something that my family and I can enjoy together, and just the educational aspect of it. It was just a great part of my life to have Jeopardy in it. And I was so excited for you to interview Ken. It was so incredibly sad when Alex got sick. And so it's a big loss. It's a big loss for the whole world. So it was really, really a big loss, and I can't wait to hear the interview with Ken.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Ken had won his 75th win on Jeopardy.
I can't imagine. I feel like that's something that will never happen again. Like, it's like that winning streak. It's hard to imagine that would ever fall. Like, that's why I feel like they're connected forever, because that's something that no one's ever going to be able to have a streak like that. It's incredible.
Yeah, Ken, he did feel very fortunate to know Alex and to be part of his world. And he said, he said in the podcast, which we'll hear right after this, that he said, wow, just watching him, with his courage and his strength and, watching him battle this disease was admirable. I mean, he was just in awe of everything about Alex. And anyone out there knows the name. Everybody knows the name Alex Trebek. Everyone knows Jeopardy. There's 100%. Not a bad thing you can say about this man.
Nope. One of the most famous mustaches in television history.
That's right. And handsome from day one. Handsome as ever. So
Exactly.
I feel a little blessed having this, having this interview, and we're going to air it now because everyone should hear, Ken's journey on Jeopardy, and it was exciting. It was exciting for me to interview him too, and to hear this. And we tease and we say, so what is it like to be known for your brain? So you'll hear what his answer was with that, and his thoughts about Alex. So
I look forward to it. Can't wait to hear.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I know you're a big fan of Jeopardy, so I had to have you on.
Big fan of Jeopardy, big fan of Alex Trebek. Like you said, just someone with class and style and a professional right to the very, very end. Just a great person.
So this podcast today on What's Up with Wendy, Ken Jennings is on it, and we're honoring and we're remembering Alex Trebek, and we always will. Thank you, Ida.
Thanks, Wendy.
Coming up is a special episode featuring Ken Jennings. Just last week, I sat down with Ken Jennings, who holds the record for the most wins on Jeopardy. Of course, we spoke about his friend Alex Trebek, who would lose his brave fight against pancreatic cancer just this past weekend. You won't want to miss my sit down with Ken Jennings. My guest today, known for his epic winning streak on the hit show Jeopardy, 74 times in a row, holy moly, and also just won the greatest of all time on the special of Jeopardy. I don't even know where to begin. Welcome welcome, Ken Jennings.
Hey, thanks for having me, Wendy.
I'm thrilled to have you. A big fan of Jeopardy, big fan of you. Okay, so this year marked your 75th win. You were crowned the greatest of all time. Before we talk about that and what it feels like, how did this whole Jeopardy come about?
15 years ago, I'd always been a huge fan of Jeopardy, first of all. I mean, growing up, it was my favorite show. I would run home from school every day to watch it. My family was living actually in South Korea at the time, which was great. My dad was working as a lawyer there, but there was only one English language TV station. It was Armed Forces TV for U.S. service members abroad. So me and all my friends watched the exact same shows at the exact same time every day. There was literally nothing else on. So every day at 5 p.m. after school, we were a captive audience for Jeopardy. So my fourth grade class was just Jeopardy itself. We were always talking about Jeopardy strategy and which clues were too hard the night before and who had wagered wrong on a daily double. And so from that very young, and I remember watching the contestants on that show and thinking, wow, these people are the coolest people ever. They know everything. Like, think about that kind of mastery. And I really just imprinted on that idea, I think, that knowing a little bit about everything is super important. And I never quite forgot it when I was in my late 20s and I was in LA for an event, and I thought, hey, I should try out for Jeopardy. And it turned out they weren't doing tryouts that week, but me and a friend drove back down the next week just to try out, which they tell you not to do, but it worked out.
Unbelievable. So how do you actually prepare to be on Jeopardy?
You know, it's a little harder than, say, cramming for an 8th grade social studies quiz, because Alex Trebek can literally ask you anything. You don't know until in the moment of the show whether the categories are going to be about Shakespeare or nuclear physics or ice hockey or baking. You know, it can literally cover the span of all human knowledge. But there are things that come up a little more often than others. You know, there's no reason not to know all your presidents in order down cold. Know all your world capitals. I don't drink, so I studied up on potent potables, how to mix cocktails. That's an old Jeopardy standard. So there's a little bit you can do to cram, but really it's so panic-inducing just to be on the show that it's really all about holding on tight and trying to ride the roller coaster.
I couldn't even answer one of the questions. But anyway, what is it like backstage on this show? Did any of the contestants, because it's you, Ken, try to like intimidate you or anything?
It's pretty collegial. I mean, it's a funny environment because all 15 of the day's contestants, they tape 5 shows in a day. All 15 of the show's contestants are kept together, sequestered in the same green room, actually for legal reasons. It's still a felony in America to rig a game show. People could go to jail if Jeopardy is not above board. So everybody's, imagine a version of the Super Bowl where both teams are in the same locker room. But really, it's pretty collegial. Everyone there is a fan of the show. There's a staff that does a pretty good job of keeping it light and trying to make contestants forget that it's a zero-sum game, basically. And people are pretty nice. I remember a little bit of smack talk, but a good way to cure that is to win 74 times in a row. That tends to quiet the mind games a little bit.
Okay, you have to rub it in. 74 wins. Okay, did the pressure increase as you racked up win after win after win? 74 win. I mean, did your confidence? What made you feel more confident as you kept going? I mean, you eventually had to lose, but
weirdly, the pressure went down. I mean, just winning one game was so unexpected and surprising, and that was the big dream for me. Like, I'm a Jeopardy champion now. Everything after this is gravy. So it was just 6 months of gravy, basically. And the reason why your confidence increases is because there's a very heavy home field advantage on Jeopardy for the returning champion. The longer you play, the more comfortable you get, less stage fright, more better timing on the little Jeopardy buzzer. Whereas every day they're just bringing in a new truckload of fresh meat for you. So
that's a good way to put it. I like the way you said that, a new truckload of fresh meat. Take down Ken Jennings. Do you have a photographic memory?
No, and I understand that's really not a thing actually for most adults. Like it's a very rare thing where children can sometimes see an after image of something in their mind's eye after it goes away. I think I'm just like most people in that if I'm engaged and curious about something, it sticks in my head, and if I'm not, I forget it. Basically, we forget things when we don't care enough about them to remember.
Right.
And so the trick is just to be curious about more things. If you can trick yourself into being curious about everything, you'll remember. You'll be surprised how much you can remember.
What is it about this game? Do you think it's like luck? We all know you're very smart, but is it luck? What's your strategy?
I do wonder that about myself a lot because I'm not the best at other quiz games. It's probably just a lifetime of watching the show and specifically really keying off of Alex's voice. That's the key to knowing when you can buzz in. If you buzz in too early, you lock yourself out. You got to buzz in just a half syllable after Alex finishes reading. So if you know his cadences well, just from watching him for 35 years, like we all have, because he's an amazingly consistent reader, you can almost have his voice kind of gets into your biorhythms, like your pulse or your brain waves, and you just kind of know how he's going to read every specific clue, and then you buzz, and if you have that inside you, if you can find that rhythm, it really, really makes the show so much easier.
I was going to say about that buzzer, I was going to say, how long did it take you to perfect your buzzer strategy? Is that like something, is that a thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't know till you go on the show how that's going to be. You could know all the answers and you'll see people just frustrated because they're getting beat. Everybody on the show knows most of the answers. They all passed a super hard audition. In my case, I remember just almost immediately out of the box, my rhythm was pretty good. And I think it is just years of watching the show. From watching the show when the best player was getting in on any given day. And, you can kind of you just internalize that rhythm and well, I guess that's about when I should punch this button.
Was there ever a time you were nervous?
Oh, insanely nervous. Like nothing prepares you for playing Jeopardy in person because on your couch, it's a very sedate game, right? Or it seems so. You can relax, you can yell out an answer when you know one. There's three kind of nerdy people talking about their cats or their library jobs or whatever. It all seems very polite. And then you're actually in there and it really is like you're in the trenches. You cannot believe how fast it's going, how high the pressure is, how nerve-wracking all the lights and stuff are. It's a totally different experience when you're there. And I think in general, people just can't cope. The half hour seems to go by like a minute.
I can't even imagine. If you just tuned in today, my special guest is known for his epic winning streak on the hit show Jeopardy 74 times in a row. Who is the most, I'm sure after win, you heard from a lot of famous people. Who's the most surprising person you heard from or people you've heard from? Because I know you have. You're smiling, I know.
Well, I got a letter last week from someone who read I just finished a book about comedy. My most recent book is about comedy. And I got a very nice hand-typed note from from a celebrity reader who's like a very funny guy himself. And I'm almost too modest to name the reader, but he's incredibly flattering two-time Academy Award Best Actor who was like, Ken, I loved your book about comedy. And I was like, wow, this guy is as nice as he appears.
That's so nice. Okay, you don't have to say it. We know. So besides being, your epic streak on Jeopardy, you're a published author, a former magazine columnist, and you currently have your own podcast.
Yeah, my podcast is called Omnibus. Me and my musician friend, John Roderick of The Long Winters, are putting together in podcast form kind of a comprehensive list of things about human history and civilization that we think might be forgotten. I'm a trivia guy, and I was just thinking, in 1,000 years after the meteor hits or the water wars or whatever, are people going to remember the defenestration of Prague, the guy getting thrown out the window at the beginning of the 30 Years' War in Czechoslovakia? Or are people going to remember Milli Vanilli lip-syncing during the 80s? So we decided we would run down these things for a hypothetical future audience. It's like a time capsule in podcast form.
That's so cool. And you have your own board game?